Welcome, intrepid souls, to a realm of haunting tales and mysterious encounters. Prepare to delve deep into the chilling folklore surrounding the legendary Llorona. Join us as we journey through the shadows, where whispers of lost souls and spectral apparitions echo through the night. Brace yourselves, for the haunting encounters with La Llorona await. One chilling account comes from Patricio Lugan, who, as a boy, witnessed the apparition himself. While his family gathered outside, a tall, thin woman appeared walking along a creek between Mora and Guadalupita, New Mexico. To their astonishment, she seemed to float over the water, then vanished up the hill. Moments later, she reappeared much closer to them, only to disappear again. The family, finding no footprints, had no doubt that they had encountered the dreaded La Llorona. La Llorona has been sighted along rivers throughout the Southwest, her legend woven into the tapestry of Hispanic culture. She is said to appear to those who mistreat their families, serving as a grim reminder and a harbinger of a harsh lesson. In another tale, a man named Epifanio Garcia found himself face to face with La Llorona after a heated argument with his parents. As he and his brothers were traveling, a tall woman with a black shawl and a net over her face materialized on their wagon seat. She remained silent until Epifanio, filled with dread, turned the horses around. It was then that she spoke, warning him that she would visit again should he dare to argue with his mother. The Para building in Santa Fe stands on land once occupied by an old Spanish Indian graveyard, a place where La Llorona's presence is palpable. Employees have shared chilling accounts of hearing her cries echoing through the halls and feeling unseen hands pushing them on the stairways. La Llorona's mournful wails have been heard next to rivers throughout the Southwest, her restless wanderings extending as far north as Montana's Yellowstone River. Hispanic communities carry the weight of her legend, passing it down from generation to generation, instilling a fear of the dark and a respect for family bonds. Bryan, Colorado, October 2008.
La Llorona woke me up once when I was camping at Indian Falls Rapids on the Yampa River in Colorado when I was 15. I walked with her to a cabin, and there was a man in the bed. All I saw was his foot, but when she yelled at me to run, I did. If I didn't smash my toe on a rock, I would have run off the cliff into the Indian Falls Rapids. I saw an article in this month's Mountain Gazette about her and looked her up on the internet. My experience was 21 years ago.
A Kansas Tale.
While working as a copy editor for a newspaper recently, I discovered a wire story about La Llorona. That brought back memories of what happened to me while I was a student at Kansas State University in the early 1980s in Manhattan, Kansas, and led me to your website, where I read more about the legend. One evening I went to a mobile home that I seem to remember being near a creek or river to visit a couple of my friends who also were attending K-State. As I entered the door, I found them sitting on the sofa, somewhat freaked out. They explained that one of the bar stools had been spinning and hopping around just moments earlier. As they were Mexican Americans, they wondered whether the La Llorona had anything to do with that incident. They explained the legend to me as I had never heard about it before. They would invite me to stay the night in a spare bedroom, which I did. Later in the night, a woman appeared to me, lying beside me in bed, and asked if I would know where her children were. While I may have been dreaming, it seemed that I was half awake. Then I fully awoke and looked up toward the doorway just in time to see a dark figure seemingly looking at me and then quickly ducking back out the doorway. Right then, that left me too scared to go check and see if that was one of my friends checking in on me, perhaps to see why I was talking in my sleep or something. I went back to sleep and waited until the morning to ask them if either one of them had looked into my room during the night. Neither one did. So to this day, I do not know whether I really did experience the supernatural visit or if my dream and mind played tricks on me.
A Bizarre Coincidence of La Llorona by Tonia Aplar of Eureka, California, November 2005.
When I was in the 7th grade, I had a frightening dream. I saw myself standing on a dark road with the only illumination coming from a dim streetlight. The ground was wet, and in the distance, I could hear the sound of rain falling and the tapping of footsteps coming toward me. Peering into the darkness, I could see a woman dressed all in black with a dark lacy veil covering her face, moving toward me. Strangely, as the mysterious woman grew closer, so did the rain. When the woman was about 15 feet in front of me, she looked over my shoulder. When I turned around to see what she was looking at, I saw a young child dressed in a white nightgown playing with a doll in the middle of a puddle of water. When I turned back to her, she was right in front of me. The veil was lifted, her eyes were abnormally wide, and her face was no more than 3 inches away from mine. Her terrifying eyes stared into mine dead on until I awoke in a panic. I looked toward the window. It was raining. As you can imagine, I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next day, I shook off the dream and thought nothing more about it until a year later. I spent the night with my friend Veronica, who had also invited another friend named Sarah. During the evening, Sarah, who is Hispanic, began to tell us some of Mexican culture's legends and ghost stories. When she began to tell the tale of La Llorona, I didn't think anything of it at first. Then she began to tell how the legendary spirit travels by water, dressed all in black or white, and is almost always seen wearing a veil. Sarah continued by telling us that La Llorona lifts her veil only to her victims and that in their afterlife, she has chosen to help her find the bones of her lost children. Now, I constantly wonder if, in my afterlife, I will be forced to help her find the bones of her lost children.
La Llorona in Texas. San Bernard River. As we noted above, La Llorona doesn't limit her travels to New Mexico. Seemingly, she follows Hispanic people wherever they go, as evidenced by Pete Sanchez's story about crossing the San Bernard River Bridge in East Bernard, Texas. East Bernard is southwest of Houston in Wharton County. This old community built its first residence around 1850 on the east side of the San Bernard River. Today the San Bernard Bridge spans the river. Several years ago, Mr. Sanchez was driving along in East Bernard with the radio blaring. As he was crossing the river bridge, he was startled as he looked to the right to see a semi-transparent woman sitting in his passenger seat. Dressed all in black, a lacy black veil covered the spirit's face. Obviously frightened, Sanchez hit the gas hard, speeding past the bridge and not looking back into the passenger seat. It wasn't until he passed the bridge that he found the courage to look again. The spirit had vanished. Mr. Sanchez readily admits that he is still freaked out today by that ghostly image. When Mr. Sanchez read the story above about the Garcia brothers encountering a tall woman wearing a black tapalo and a black net over her face, who appeared on the wagon seat between them, he obviously saw similarities. We agree. La Llorona in Mexico. By Daisy Calderon. When she was 8 years old, her grandmother told her to go to the store to buy soda. This was during the evening as they were getting ready to eat supper. She and her brother left for the store, and along the way, they heard wailing, but they didn't pay much attention to it. However, as they continued on, they saw a young woman walking toward them. Suddenly, her little brother started to cry, and the woman ran toward him, acting as if she was going to get him. When they saw that she was floating instead of walking, they began to run back to their house and told grandmother and mom what had happened. They locked the door and started praying to God to help us and make La Llorona go away. Daisy still believes that La Llorona is real. An Attack by the Weeping Woman. By Emily Ortiz. When she was about 8 years old, she had just started becoming interested in all things paranormal. She was researching La Llorona when she suddenly heard a noise, so she decided to check it out. Then she heard it again. It sounded like it was coming from the bathroom, so she walked in and stopped at the sink. Then suddenly, her head was pushed into the sink, and the water started to run. The sink finally filled all the way, and she was trying to breathe. Then she couldn't breathe anymore. I thought I was going to die of a lack of oxygen. So she screamed, and her mom came in. She pulled my head out after a struggle and hugged me tightly. She knew she wouldn't drown herself, so she started thinking. Then she froze, and her face turned white. She screamed and almost fainted. She asked her what was wrong, and she said with a stutter, La Llorona. As our journey comes to an end, we hope you found solace in the eerie tales of La Llorona, and if you have any of your own or close one encounter with La Llorona, please do comment and share it with us. And if you are looking to know the origins of La Llorona, please click on a link in description. May her haunting cries linger in your thoughts, a reminder of the power of folklore and the enduring presence of spirits. Remember, tread cautiously in the darkness, for you never know when the weeping woman might cross your path. Until next time, embrace the legends, and may your nights be free from the mournful wails of La Llorona. Don't forget to like and subscribe.